Are you serious? Jesus. Let's get right into this episode, girl. We got a lot to talk about. This episode is called Lost in the Sauce. because babe, last episode I talked about catastrophizing, and this episode we talk about lost in the sauce, because I feel like if you have negative thought patterns and if you're always in a negative thought patterns, catastrophizing, like, you are very much lost in the sauce, in my opinion. And I just feel like this is a great follow-up to what we were talking about, as far as when something bad is going on in your life, you don't necessarily have to take, okay, my example was, I lost my job, now I'm gonna be out on the street, now I'm gonna be at the strip club. Like, who said all that was gonna happen? Like, babe, you skipped through unemployment, you skipped through finding another job, you skipped through, like, there's so many things that could happen. Just because one bad thing happened does not mean that you have a bad life. It just means that you had a bad day, or a bad hour, or a bad half of the day. So whether something bad happened or not, just know, girl, we can all be lost in the sauce at some time, some point. And so we're gonna talk about that. And really, it's crazy because I was writing this episode, I wanted to really talk about confidence for today. And I think that this is gonna go hand in hand with confidence and what you are really assigning your self-worth to. Is it the things that you produce? Is it the things is it your followers? Is it the clothes that you have? Is it the content that you produce? Is it the money you have? Is it the bags you have? Like, what are you assigning your self-worth to? Because that's going to be an interesting question that I want you all to think about and harp on and come up with an answer. Because if and when you lose that thing, or that thing does not produce to your goals, right, or whatever you see forth, do you feel like a part of you is missing? And at some point, this can be true for different areas of our life. At some point, I didn't get the job that I really was working towards, and because I put that onto my self-worth, it was as if I didn't get it. I missed the mark, and I felt I was not worthy. I felt like a failure, and I felt like I essentially lost myself, because it was like, damn, I was doing all this and I didn't even get to where I was supposed to go, where I thought I was supposed to go to. So I just talked about this example, and it really broke my heart, right? And it was on TikTok. I think it's on Instagram too. Y'all know stuff just be circulating in the internet, child. But it was a video on TikTok about this girl and this woman. She was talking about attaching yourself to your own self and not to other people. So we can attach ourselves to things. We can also attach ourselves to people, especially when it comes into like romantic partnerships and romantic relationships. And so when that person walks out of your life, essentially, or it doesn't work out, it's as if you're left picking up the pieces, or you no longer know yourself because you've attached yourself and your identity to this person or to this thing. And so the woman in the video talks about attaching yourself to yourself. And so when people leave you, you won't feel empty. And when it doesn't work, you won't feel empty. But I want to take it a step further. Because what happens when you truly lose yourself? See, you attaching yourself to yourself doesn't necessarily mean that you won't ever get lost in the sauce, because you could very much be a secure person and at the same time lose yourself. But let's get into, what does it mean to lose yourself? According to Oxford, I had to pull up the big guns. According to Oxford, it means to become deeply absorbed in something. Very much something. That's what it means to lose yourself. And interestingly enough, I was like, ooh, this is a little deep. Like, I didn't think I was gonna go this deep. But I found on Psychology Today, I love Psychology Today. It's an article by John Kim, the Angry Therapist, which I love his name because I was like, Angry Therapist, okay, that's crazy. The article is titled, "You Are Meant to Lose Yourself. That's How You Find Yourself." I said, Losing yourself is in fact evidence you are not knowing who you are. See, and I think about how when you don't know who you are, right? When people don't know who they are outside of things, possessions, and people that they might have attached themselves to, it totally goes to shit whenever things don't go correct, right? Our ideas are not our own, and they have been shaped and conformed to what we digest. And oh my gosh, it's so crazy because it all comes together in a full circle. I went to the Beyonce concert. I ended up going, y'all, shout out to me. Y'all know I was going back and forth with the whole Beyonce fiasco. But I ended up going to the Beyonce concert with my best friend in Arizona. And at one point in the concert, she had flashed on the screen the most realistic, I should have took a photo of it. Oh my gosh. But it's something like my dad used to always say, whoever controls the media controls your mind, right? And it's not necessarily, we could take it a step further, it's not even just whoever controls the media, but whatever the algorithm is pushing is whatever that kind of controls your mind. None of our thoughts are really our own thoughts. We have been shaped by societal norms, by rules, by regulations, by the media, by our music, by podcasts, by whatever you consume on a daily basis. Your mind and your ideology has been shaped by that. And that's why I've talked about in earlier episodes that it's very important to protect your space and to protect the things that you are consuming 24/7. Because, i.e., another example, I talked about it before. At the end of the year, Spotify and Apple, very smart, because people, they post on their story, they're like, oh, I listened to 2,000 hours of Drake. Look, I listened to this many thing of SZA. Y'all, I was disgusted with myself. Literally, last year, I had Spotify and I had Apple Music. But I just downloaded Spotify in like November. So they still had a thing for me. And from November to January 1st, I had listened to 1,000 hours of Lil Baby. And it got to the point, it had my gears going, like the Holy Spirit was like, what is wrong with this? Looking at this, you know what's wrong with, like, why are you listening to 1,000 hours of Lil Baby? What is Lil Baby talking about for you to be listening to and digesting 1,000 hours? We have 24 hours in a day, you all. It's very important. So this idea of our ideas not being our own coincides with whatever you are digesting at whatever rate you are digesting it, right? And then somehow you're subconsciously attaching your self-worth to whatever you are digesting. Because if you're listening to music that talks about your self-worth as a man is in how many bodies that you can collect. Your self-worth as a man is how many gold chains you have. Your self-worth is how much money you have because these people are broke, blah, 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 right? And if you're listening to hours of that, all of a sudden you subconsciously find yourself attaching your worth and your confidence and the ability to produce whatever those people or those things are talking about and what you are listening and watching. And I'll take it another step further. So in my research of I'm always on social media, right? Because social media is what I do. So essentially I have to be on it. I saw this video and it really broke my heart. And it was of a 6-year-old girl. I think she was like, she probably was 6, 7, okay, 6 to 8, okay? 6, 7 to 8, the girl. I'm pretty sure she was 6 or 7. But she had beautiful melanin dark skin. Like, I mean, this girl's skin was beautiful. And in the video, the girl didn't want to go to school. The 7-year-old girl She didn't want to go to school. She was crying to her mom, and she, you know, when we were little, we're kind of like clinging on to our parents. She was clinging on to her mom, and she was talking about, I don't want to go to school. She was crying. She said, I'm so ugly. And her mom was like, what? We all had the same reaction. I had the same reaction watching the video. I'm pretty sure you probably got the same reaction now. And she said, I'm so ugly. I'm so ugly. I don't want to go to school. And her mom's like, where are you getting this from? Like, who told you you were ugly? And she said, the girls at school, they complain. They talk about my skin tone. They say my skin is ugly and that I'm ugly because of my skin. And she's busting out into tears. So much so that as a viewer watch, like, oh my gosh, I'm getting teary-eyed thinking about it now. Because y'all know I'm a crier. But so much so as a grown woman watching that 6-year-old girl have so much pain in her heart that she was begging her mom not to go to school. And it was from ingesting school gossip, right? School, whatever, the girls telling her. And in the video, while she's saying all this and she's breaking down and she's crying, her mom is saying positive affirmations over her, like, you are beautiful. Don't let, you know, them make you feel bad about the way you look. Your skin is beautiful. Only a certain amount of people in this world has a skin color like this. You're like, she's like, look at you, like, you're the most beautiful girl. And she's telling her daughter this. And of course, everyone's in the comments like, yeah, she's beautiful. Like, tell the baby girl, like, read some of these comments out to her. But in that moment, while you see the mother comforting her daughter and telling her how beautiful she is, it's not getting through to the daughter. And I'm not saying that maybe the mom doesn't tell her how beautiful she is every day, right? But what I am saying is that baby was listening to hours, days, weeks. We don't know how long has went by, because in the video you can tell her mom was shocked, like, hey, why didn't you want to go to school? We don't know how long this little girl was listening to other people talk about her, so much so that it started to get down and eat away at her confidence, at her self-love. And she didn't tell her mom until one day it was, I don't want to go to school. And now her mom is doing the work as a mother and combating and deconstructing what these people are saying, but it's not getting through to her because of the thousands of hours or days or weeks that the things that she was listening to was already so deep in. It's the same concept for us as adults, and it might not be with how you look. But if you have already ingested thousands of hours and days and weeks of doing a certain thing, forming a certain habit, is already deep down in you. And so now deconstructing that and breaking that down and relearning that, hey, I'm in fact more than this, is going to take longer than just an affirmation right before school. And it's pretty obvious, right, that these things also happen when we're children, and they might not be addressed until we're, I don't know, ever. Well, I was about to say for some people ever, but it might not be addressed until we become teenagers, or it might not be addressed until we become young adults or well into our adulthood. And some people, they never really address it. They just bury it deep down inside and move on to the next thing. And the Bible, let's go to the book, child. The Bible, we're going to talk about Luke 9:24, and we're going to go to God's advice. Let me pull up my Bible real quick because I didn't write it down. Typically, I write down my verses for y'all, so I have it off the dome, but I ain't write this one down, y'all. So I'm sorry. This is what God says. Luke 9:24, he says, "For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will save it." I'm pretty sure we've all heard this verse before, and usually it comes around Easter Sunday or baptism day at church. But in this, and when we're talking about losing ourselves, and attaching ourselves to certain things and deconstructing that thing. I'm gonna read it again. Whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will save it. And oddly enough, it's crazy. It's real crazy how God really be coming with the bars. This book, God, I don't know when the Bible was written. The oldest Bible is Ethiopian, but I don't know when. But what I do know is that on Psychology Today, I had stumbled across, and I'm going to read to y'all the title again. You are meant to lose yourself. That's how you find yourself. And this psychologist is not Christian, but you'll see how close this is to Luke 9:24. You have to lose yourself. Whoever wants to save their life will lose it. You have to lose your life and lose yourself to save it. And whoever loses their life for God will save it. We're going to go to another one. Romans 12:12. Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is. His good, pleasing, and perfect will. It is the uncertainty of life that will truly give us the power of being you or being me and what God has for you. And if we knew everything, we would not have to lean on God's understanding. Losing yourself can push you to believe in God and what is truly greater, which is God, right? Attaching yourself to God, something and someone who is steadfast, who is the same yesterday, today, tomorrow, and forever, is a way in which from then on, you will never lose yourself again. I've lost myself before, and this is a testimony of me. I've lost myself before, but I can sit here wholeheartedly and tell y'all, I've never lost myself again. Ever since I found Christ, I've never lost myself. Now, have I been down? Of course. Have I had anxiety? Of course. Have I had depressive episode? Of course, because that's life. But I've never truly lost myself again, because I know who I am. And who I am is rooted into God, who will never change. Mic drop, because that's what I got for y'all. In all, you won't ever lose yourself ever again when you ground yourself in Christ. You won't have low confidence or no confidence when you have confidence in Christ. And I'm not talking about, you could be Christian and listening to this. I saw this TikTok. It was like this girl, it was the same girl. It was like it was a photo of her, and she was like, she knew God. She knew of God. And the other photo was like, she knows God. that like, I knew of God. All my life, I knew of God. Now I can sit up here and say, I know God. There's a difference. And if you feel like you're low on confidence in your ability, if you feel like you're low on confidence in your looks, if you feel like you lost yourself because you've attached yourself to worldly things and worldly people and things that aren't forever, it's okay. You always can redirect. Look, as long as you got breath in your lungs, and I tell this to my mom, as long as you got breath in your lungs, there's no time like the present. You always have time to shift, to pivot, and to start something new. And I'm gonna see y'all in the next episode. I love y'all so much. And bye. Don't forget to email me and sign up for the community and get your 20 laws of a knit girl for self-improvement and a better life. I'll see y'all next week.